Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Profit Minds podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen 𝐘𝐨𝐿, creator of the Profit Minds Growth System, a unique blend of profit growth, productivity acceleration, and building robust business process for scale. In every episode, I interview entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world with a unique story to tell. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Well, hello, everyone. Today, my guest is Nadia Davari, a lawyer who works at the intersection of technology and entertainment. And today, we're going to talk about using AI to help your creativity. But not so fast. Welcome, Nadia.
Hi, Steve. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. So, the question I ask every guest, tell us your story. How did you get here?
Not to crack any jokes, I went to college and I went to law school. Short answer.
Ah,
Um, but I guess I did. So I was a science major at UCLA undergrad, and then I was going to medical school, but then I changed my mind and went to law school instead. And I considered going into patent law with my science background, but I'm in Southern California in the LA area, and entertainment is very big here, as you can imagine. And going to USC Law School, we had multiple courses on IP and entertainment and the business, and in the business school, and then the film school, and all the other schools at USC that kind of support the industry. So I kind of, as they say, fell into it. So, and
hmm.
here I am.
Yeah. So everybody's talking about AI these days.
Mhm.
And I know there's a whole bunch of folks who are using AI to help them create new things,
Mhm.
to come up with content, come up with all kinds of things. So talk to us a little bit about what are the implications of what they're doing, and what can and can't you do with this stuff that AI helps you create?
Yeah, very good question, Steve. It seems like wherever we go nowadays, it's AI this, AI that. It reminds me of in the 2000s, early 2000s when it was internet everywhere, right?
That's right. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all we heard about. And so AI is, of course, here to stay. You can't stop technology, right? So we have to learn how to work with it. And you asked specifically about using AI to create things. So that's a mixed bag. While everybody's super excited that they can use AI, but if you are thinking about um, monetizing it and copywriting it, um, or trademarking it, you should, be aware that copyright law does not only protects human creations. So anything that is created by AI cannot be copyrighted. It's not copyrightable. There's a famous case that a monkey took a photo of himself or herself, and that photo could not be copyrighted because not by a human.
Mm.
So yes, so same thing with AI. AI's public policy reason for, intellectual property law is to help or encourage creativity so people can benefit from their work that they put into it. That was the reason for Congress to come up with the whole, body of the law. So if it's a machine, it really doesn't um, further that public policy. So it has to be a human creation. So I really caution creatives or anybody actually in any line of business when they are using AI so heavily to create their work product, and not just because it cannot be copyrighted, as you well know, Steve, um, stuff that you put into a large language model can end up in a search engine, becomes part of the vast amount of information that is training AI. So that's something to consider. You don't want it to become public if it's something that you have some trade secrets or proprietary information or, clients' information, for example. So that's one thing to consider. And second thing to consider. And then also, another important point is the information that has been used to train AI, as you may have heard, there are all these lawsuits by the studios and various authors against AI because the material that was used to train the AI and the large language models, the ones that are become widely available, uh, the ones like Gemini and Perplexity or Grok or ChatGPT, they've used information that has not all of it has been licensed. So you might want to be mindful about that because then the work product is not clean, right? Of course, now there are different kinds of uh, large language models that you can license and you can have it be trained by your own materials for your specific needs. That's different. We're talking about the ones that are widely available. So you may want to be mindful of that, that the source material is not clean, basically, or properly licensed. So therefore, if you're using information that hasn't been licensed, then and you create something, then what you've used to the information you've used to create your new um, work product will be affected by that,
Yeah,
by the
I
unclean
my
material.
my understanding is that the I'll say the jury is still out because those final determinations on what constitutes fair use
Yes,
for the consumption of that material. And yeah, now you can
yes.
argue
There are a
that
lot of laws.
it should have been licensed. And in fact, I know there's at least one, you know, one lawsuit that's been, we'll say, settled preliminarily about, the use of some books, right?
Mhm.
But the New York Times has a lawsuit against OpenAI, I know, and many of the studios are filing things against several of the large language models about images in particular, and likenesses and those kinds of things. And so yeah, there's an awful lot of confusion that's happening, and I think the part of the message needs to be, stay alert and think about and consider. That's what I'm hearing from you, right? Is there's an awful lot of nuance to whether
Mhm.
you can and can't use and what you can and can't use. What we do know is that if you produce the stuff yourself,
Mhm.
you can copyright it, you can
Mhm.
trademark it.
Mhm.
You told me a story before we went on the air here about a client that you had that called you, was so excited about this series that he was going. You want to tell that story and what your recommendation was to that particular individual?
Sure. One of my clients, actually, I spoke about this specific person, but I've had that happen a few times now where clients call and they say that they're using AI. They're so excited. The writer blocks has been lifted magically, and now they can, they don't have to hire a writer or an assistant to organize their notes and outlines, and they're using ChatGPT or some other large language model to create their outlines and their treatments and help them write and put the story together. And, I had to, you can only imagine what my response was. I had to quickly let this client know or remind him that what he puts in there is not private. It becomes part of that machine and it's used to train it, and it could turn up in another search engine. So that's another thing to consider. We were talking about, um, uh, you know, uh, what could be some of the issues if you are using AI to create your work. So and then also it's not copyrightable, as you know. So it will turn up somewhere, it's not copyrightable. And again, like we just discussed, it may not be clean. It could be somebody else's work that is using, um, that is weaving into his work product. So he, of course, immediately became very concerned, especially about the stuff not being private, and now becoming part of this learning process. So I referred him to um, professional writers who can help him with it, and he decided to go back to the traditional methods. But you know, this brings us to the next step that you and I chatted about briefly as well. What can you use AI for?
Yeah. Well, if you can't create, what do you do?
Yeah, so what can you use it for? So if you're brainstorming or you're asking it questions, like just like how you would be using a search engine, right? And is ideation and is helping you brainstorm, that part, is fine. But your work product, the way you create that idea, ideas, first of all, cannot be they're not copyrightable.
Right.
It's your expression of how something is done or your way of describing it is what's, your original thoughts on that idea are what's copyrightable. So if you use it for that first step, to bounce ideas from it and get, kind of the conversation going, that's fine. But then the work product needs to be your your ideas and your work and your writing. And in fact, if you go to copyright it, as we discussed earlier, copyright is for what is created by a human. So if a machine is creating it, you can't copyright it. And if you do go to so the next step is, what if it's something that is a hybrid? I, used
Yeah.
AI to create some of it, but not all of it. And I used the AI that was generated for me. It's clean, so we don't have that issue, and it's private. It's not going to be all over the place. And I want to use this AI that I've licensed for my own use that I know, it's clean. So how about then? So we eliminated the other issues and we just stuck with, is it human creation? Um, so for that, the parts that have been created by you can be copyrightable, or are copyrightable, can be copyrighted, but to the extent that it was written by artificial intelligence, you have to disclaim it and let the Copyright Office know that these portions of it were not created by me and not claim it as something that you want to copyright.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is, let me see if I have this correct, because it's very nuanced. And I am sure that by the time this episode actually comes out, things will have changed some. But as we understand it today, if I were to go into AI and use it and one of the things that we really love doing is using as a thought partner, right? Help me think through this process. Let me think about different things that I could create, or an outline, or say a structure for something that I'm creating. And then I fill in all of the pieces, right? I write the paragraphs. that seems like it's probably okay,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That again,
Yes.
I'm creating it.
Hmm.
If I tell the AI to write it and then I go in and do extensive editing of it, is
Yes.
that going to be okay?
Well, that's
Or
a really good question. That's a really question. So how much of it can be AI before I can claim ownership of it, right? And say
hmm
it's created by me? As little as possible. And to the extent that portions of it are not, you have to declare it and not claim a copyright in it.
so if I use if I have it write up a paragraph for me that has 5 sentences in it and I change four of them, I can't then copyright that. I have to say that this sentence was AI generated and therefore
Mhm.
that's not part of the copyright.
Exactly.
That sounds really hard.
Yes. So right now, ex for example, if you have, let's say, a presentation that you want to copyright,
hmm
now you wrote all the text, but the photos were taken by a photographer, and you go to the copyright office and you submit this presentation to copyright it, you disclaim the photos and say, these things are not created by me. The author of these things is this person. I'm only claiming copyright in this portion.
Okay, in
So
the
this
text.
would be kind of,
Okay.
yeah. So this would be something similar.
Okay. So similarly, if I said, four of the 5 sentences were created by me, the other one was AI created and therefore is not copyrightable.
Hmm.
Something like that. Right.
Hmm.
Okay. That's wow, that's an awful lot of
Which is
care
why my
and
clients went
precision.
back
Yes.
straight back to the way everything was done before and are, working with professional writers.
Yeah. So let's talk about that whole process then. Does that mean um you shouldn't use AI or just that you can't copyright it?
So that's a really good question, Steve. Um, what are the issues with using AI? Basically, is what the
Yeah.
question is.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know there's a lot of built-in bias with AI. They did an experiment where, actually, I believe, I should double check my reference, but I think it was a report done by Stanford where they fed AI resumes. They changed the names to female and above a certain age, and then male, white males, the names,
hmm
and they submitted to AI exact same resume. It was a clear bias towards women and more so on women who were older than a certain age. So you need to be careful of the bias. This was one bias, right? We
hmm
know that it comes up with, a lot of racist comments too, sexism, racism, all sorts of biases, right? So that's something to really be mindful of. And then I'm sure you've heard, and your audience have heard of the lawyers who go to court with, briefs written by AI, and AI makes hallucinations. Can you imagine?
Yes. Yeah. You clearly have to check. You have to, and one of the reasons that we don't tell, we tell our clients not to ask AI for the answer and to always check its work, right?
Yeah,
Is because it can make mistakes.
right.
Uh,
Of course, now there are specific AI models that are generated for attorneys, and you pay a subscription and you can use it, right? And it uses case law that has been, actual case law,
right.
but they're specifically for lawyers, right? Genre specific. So, that's something else to consider, the whether it's really the bias and whether it's actual information is correct or not. Then you think about how some industries are already using AI, say health insurance, uh, is using AI to make to allow coverage or no coverage. Can you imagine your healthcare being determined by some AI model without the nuances or the input of a human being, you know? So, um, and these are things that are affecting all of us. Or if you're trying to take out a loan from a bank and AI scanning your application or sending your resume and AI scanning it, these are things that are affecting everybody, not just the people who are in the creative world or people who are in the tech world, right? And then
Right.
even more so, I'm sure you've heard of deep fakes. And can you
Oh,
imagine
yes.
you've posted a photo on social media or somebody, you're not even actively doing that, but you're on the street, somebody takes a photo, and you happen to be in the background in the photo, or a cousin at a Thanksgiving dinner or at a, Hanukkah dinner or at a um, Christmas party takes a photo of you and they put it up, and then all of a sudden, you know, your photo is used to train the facial recognition and then your image pops up somewhere and with deep fake and your voice and image, right? And now all of a sudden without you knowing you're selling some product somewhere.
Yeah, it's a wild world out there, and you just need to be really cautious about
Deep fakes, deep
well,
fakes,
and
right?
and how you use it and how you allow it to be used.
Right.
I think that's the message here is, you know, be thoughtful, be aware, and recognize again the
It's
technology is
limitation
continu yeah, it has limitations, but it's also,
and in pitfalls.
yeah, and it continues to evolve.
Yes.
So
And
the
the
AI,
consequences of using it.
yes, there are, and again, the legal landscape is continuously changing. It's important to keep all of that in mind. Really appreciate your perspective. Do you have a free gift that you'd like to offer for the folks that have listened to us?
For your listeners, of course, at any time, if anybody has any questions or wants to, run something by me, I'm happy to pick up the phone or respond to an email as long as they mention your name or the name of the podcast, Profit Minds. I would be delighted to answer any questions.
That's great. Thank you. And the best way for people to reach out to you is what?
You can reach me through my website, www.davariylaw.net, or you can send me an email at nadia@nadiadavari.com, or you can find me on various social media platforms and LinkedIn.
Great. And that concludes our show. Thanks so much to my guest, Nadia Davari, a lawyer who works at the intersection of technology and entertainment. I hope you learned something about using AI to help your creativity. I know I did. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Profit Minds podcast. This is your host, Dr. Stephen 𝐘𝐿. Please visit www.profitminds.net for other episodes or to contact me. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Thanks for listening. Have a grateful day.